Hey there guys, welcome back to the channel. I know I've not been very active on my channel lately. I had a lot of stuff going on that I don't want to go into, but now I'm finally back, and I finally got around to checking out one of the most highly anticipated films of 2025. It's a horror film called Weapons. It's written and directed by Cregger, who directed his last horror film called Barbarian, which is one of the most underrated horror films that came out that year in 2022. And he's attached to direct a new Resident Evil film. When I found out that he was attached to direct that film, I'm on board. I think he's a great choice to direct that movie. So going into Weapons, I didn't really know what this movie was really about. I only know it from the synopsis, and I've seen a couple of the trailers, and I still don't know what it's truly about going into that movie. But it's one of those films that you have to go in completely blind and subvert your expectations and simply strap you into the unknown and not knowing what the hell is going to happen. So going into Weapons, this movie is really about this one classroom that all the children, except for one, goes missing, and everybody in the town, their parents, are very furious, and they're holding this teacher, played by Garner, responsible for their whereabouts. They think that she's responsible for them being vanished in the first place because she's the only one who's teaching in that classroom, and there's only one classroom, and all the children are the only ones that are missing, and they're always wondering, where the hell are they? How can they just vanish out of nowhere? And you see all the children just at night just running around like this in the posture, all at the same time simultaneously, and as an audience, you're just wondering, like, how the hell did this happen? And after seeing this movie, I will say, this was so damn good. I will say that it did live up to the hype for the most part. There are a couple of things in the movie that I didn't like, and I feel like they could have done better. But other than that, it's a well-told structure story of a puzzle pieces telling from each character's point of view and showing you from a different angle, and how they all tie together by the time you get to the third act. I love Julia Garner's performance. She had a great year for movies. Sure, she had like at least one or two that weren't the best, but she actually had another film that came out recently called The Fantastic Four First Steps. She played the Silver Surfer, and I thought she was amazing in that movie. She is a really damn good actress. I think she's been great ever since that Netflix series called Ozark, and it won her an Emmy, and she is now famous, and I think that she is one of the most scene stealers in the movie. I still wish they could have gotten more screen time with her. And Josh Brolin, who's playing one of the parents, who's playing detective, who is trying to find some answers, who is desperate need to find his son and the rest of the children that went missing. And it does add a little bit of the supernatural elements to the movie. It's not going to be the type of supernatural that you're expecting, which I won't go into it without spoiling the surprises. Now, let me be clear. This is a non-spoiler review, and I'm not going to give anything away, and the people who have seen the movie, please do not spoil it in the comments. I would really appreciate it if you don't do that. But I will say that the cast was terrific. All the cast members were absolutely amazing. Even Alden Ehrenreich was incredible in the film, who plays the cop in this movie. He does have another, like a character arc that you see from his own point of view, but I will say that his story kind of felt it was the weakest, and it's something that we could have done without, and that was one of my negatives. But I will say that Alden Ehrenreich was incredible in the movie, performance-wise, because you may have known him that he was in a Star Wars film called Solo, and he played the younger Han Solo, and he has popped up some movies here and there, but not as much. He even actually popped in another big film that came out a few years ago called Oppenheimer, which he was not even in the marketing, and I think he's a very underrated actor, and I hope he gets more roles. I think that Benedict Wong, who's playing, I believe he's the principal or the faculty member at this school, and I think Benedict Wong was definitely one of the scene stealers as well, and I thought his arc was very fucking intense and insane. There are a few moments that felt very graphic that is going to put you on edge, and without giving away too much, the third act finale, holy effing crap. There's some gore moments that felt so graphic that I was like, oh my god, I cannot believe they went there. And there are some few dark humor moments, which that's always been Cregger's style. Even though it's very serious and heavy when it comes to horror films for his storytelling, but he always adds a little bit of the dark humor here and there just to lighten up the mood. And the ending, I will say that it still did pay off, despite some of the issues I had with the film. I think that Cregger did a really good job of showing different points of view of each of the characters, cutting from this character into the next. The first half of the film does have a bit of a slow burn, and it takes a while for it to really catch up to the story, but I think it definitely did a big payoff by the third act finale. Because that's the kind of style of storytelling that Zach Cregger did before in his last film, Barbarian. It almost seems to me that this felt like that he took notes from Quentin Tarantino's movies like Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs. It seems like that Quentin Tarantino would make this movie. If you were to tell me that Tarantino directed, I would actually believe it, because if he were to direct a horror film, it would make a lot of sense, because he has done a lot of story structures that are not in chronological order for different types of point of view. And I think it's like seeing a puzzle pieces coming together. And I thought that Zach Cregger really did a good job. The things I did not like that really bothered me, which, without going into spoilers, there's a thing that gets revealed of who's behind all this. I feel like that the motives behind it didn't really make any sense, and it didn't really get mentioned or brought up. And there is a supernatural elements, but it doesn't address it enough of how that came to be. And that's one of the things that really failed for this movie, that keep it from being perfect. I wish that they could have added a little bit more into it. And there were a couple of moments in the film that felt a little bit predictable, that I kind of saw it coming. But other than that, it wasn't a takeaway for me. It's not a make or break. It's definitely one of the better films I've seen all year. Definitely one of the best horror films of the year. I'm not ready to say that this is going to be in my top 3 or top 5. I had to wait a while to really think about it. I still think Sinners is the best horror film that came out this year, and probably the better movie in my opinion. But I thought Zach Cregger really did a very good job of structuring the story, keeping you guessing, keeping you in the suspense, and keeping you engaged with it. And all the performances were absolutely phenomenal. I think that Josh Brolin and Julia Garner were one of the standouts, including Benedict Wong. If I were to give this rating, I would give this movie an 8.5 out of 10. And the reason why I'm giving that score is because what I brought up before, I wish they could have done a little bit more of the motivation of who's the person who's behind the whole thing, and addressing enough the supernatural elements to it. But anyway, I still really enjoyed it. I'm so excited for Zach Cregger to actually direct the Resident Evil film. This is definitely up his alley. He even mentioned that it's basically probably might be in the same universe from the video game of the Resident Evil world, and he's trying to stay true to the lore and the mythology behind it, and he's also telling an original story with an original characters, which I think that's the right way to go, in my opinion. And I'm excited to see his take on Resident Evil, and hopefully that he can actually get it right this time, especially when studios have tried many times before when they try to do an adaptation for Resident Evil. Anyway, what did you think of Weapons? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this review, make sure you hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so you know when my videos are up. If you want to follow my social media platforms, the link tree would be down in the description down below. And I'm glad that Weapons is doing well at the box office, and audiences and critics are really liking the movie. It's getting a positive word of mouth. I hope you guys go out and support this movie like this, because it's another original horror film that's not done like this before. But anyway, I had a good time watching it, and I hope you guys have a great day, great evening, wherever you're from, and stay tuned for more of my content.